Hello friends, I am Mrs. Pushpalata Rahul Shinde, lecturer of English from Aryan College of Arts, Commerce, Science, Camp, Pune. Already you have seen my last video which is about the poetry, its meaning, definition and the importance of poetry in our day-to-day life. As per the new syllabus of the HSC board, section 2 contains poetry and now we are going to start poem number 1.1. So, the name of the poem is Song of the Open Road, which is written by the Walt Whitman. Walt Whitman is an American poet. First, we'll come to know something about the Walt Whitman because it is very necessary to know the lifestyle and the life of the poet because the experience and the what happens in the person's life depends on his writing. So Walt Whitman was born on May 31, 1819 in West Hills on Long Island, New York. New York. He was the second son of Walter Whitman, a house builder, and Lucia Van Welser. In the 1820s and 1830s, the family, which consisted of 9 children, lived in Long Island and Brooklyn, where Whiteman attended a Brooklyn public schools. At the age of 12, Whiteman began to learn the printer's trade and fell in love with the written word. Largely self-taught, he read voraciously, becoming acquainted with the works of Homer, Dante, and Shakespeare, and the Bible. Whiteman worked as a printer in New York City until a devastating fire in the printing district demolished the industry. In 1836, at the age of 17, he began his career as a teacher in the one-room schoolhouse of Long Island. He continued to teach until 1841 when he turned to journalism as a full-time career. He founded a weekly newspaper, the Long Islander, and later edited a number of Brooklyn and New York newspapers, including a Brooklyn Daily Eagle. In 1848, Whiteman left the Brooklyn Daily Eagle to become editor of the New Orleans Crescent for 3 months. After witnessing the auctions of enslaved individuals in New Orleans, he returned to Brooklyn in the fall of 1848 and co-founded a Free Soil newspaper. The Brooklyn Freeman, which he edited through the next fall, Whiteman's attitudes about race have been described as unstable and inconsistent. He did not always side with the abolitionists, yet he celebrated human dignity. In Brooklyn, he continued to develop the unique style of poetry that later so astonished Ralph Emerson. In 1855, Whiteman took out a copyright on the first edition of Leaves of Grass, which consisted of 12 untitled poems and a preface. He published the volume himself and sent a copy to Emerson in July of 1855. Whiteman released a second edition of the book in 1856 containing 32 poems, a letter from Emerson praising the first edition, and a long open letter by Whiteman in response. During his lifetime, Whiteman continued to refine the volume, publishing several more editions of the book. Noted Whiteman scholar M. Jimmy Killingsworth writes that the merge, as Whiteman conceived it, is the tendency of the individual self to overcome moral, psychological, and political boundaries. Thematically and poetically, the notion dominates the three major poems of 1855: I Sing the Body Electric, The Sleepers, and Song of Myself, all of which were merged in the first edition under the single title Leaves of Grass, but were demarcated by clean breaks in the text and the repetition of the title. At the outbreak of the Civil War, Whitman vowed to live a purged and cleansed life. He worked as a freelance journalist and visited the wounded at New York City area hospitals. He then traveled to Washington, D.C. in December 1862 to care for his brother who had been wounded in war. Overcome by the suffering of many wounded in Washington, Whiteman decided to stay and work in the hospitals. He ended up staying in the city of 11 years. He took a job as a clerk for a Bureau of Indian Affairs within the Department of Interior, which ended when the Secretary of the Interior, James Harlan, discovered that Whiteman was the author of Leaves of Grass, which Harlan found offensive. After Harlan fired him, he went on to work in the Attorney General's office. In 1873, Whiteman suffered a stroke that left him partially paralyzed. A few months later, he traveled to Camden, New Jersey to visit his dying mother at his brother's house. He ended up staying with his brother until the 1882 publication of Leaves of Grass, which brought him enough money to buy a home in Camden. In the simple two-story clapboard house, Whiteman spent his declining years working on additions and revisions of the death edition of Leaves of Grass and preparing his final volume of poem and prose, Goodbye My Fancy. After his death on March 26, 1892, Whiteman was buried in a tomb he designed and had built on a lot in a Hurley cemetery. Along with Emil Dickinson, he is considered one of the America's most important poets. So that's why, friends, now we come to know that in his life he faced a lot and he has the knowledge of the common social life and the problems of the common social life. So, in our poem, The Song of the Open Road, we are going to discuss about his feeling about the future and what he suffered in future, how he is speechless when there is no scope for the future. So, we'll meet again once again. Thank you.